you ought to ask yourself, did I make a sale today? If not, what the hell were you doing with your 10-hour workday? Right? Don't come back in my office and say to me, if you're a salesperson, oh, I went out and I visited with, 5 people, and I was building relationships, and I helped a bunch of people today. Well, you're not helping me. I want you to come back with a contract, signed, with a check attached, stapled to the top. Are we clear? Yes. I have to be clear because so many people in sales are not. You interview salespeople, what are you good at? What do you think they say? Oh, I'm real good at helping people. I'm real good at building relationships. Great, go be a kindergarten teacher, right? I don't need you here. I need a salesperson. I want to hear I'm good at selling. Yes, you build relationships. Yes, create a proposal. That's all part of it. But when you wake up every day, you got to say, where am I going to get my sale? Where is my next sale coming from? Right? Owners, entrepreneurs in the room, if you have salespeople working for you, that's a question you ought to ask your sales team every day. Report to me, what sales did you make today? At least every week. Every week. Show me how many calls you made. Show me how many sales did you bring in. Every week. I want to see, are you above or are you below? Where are you in your quota, right? What are you going to do next week? If you're behind, what are you going to do? Show me your plan of what you're going to do. No excuses. Don't want to hear it. You're there to sell. All right, so that's rule number 1. You got to be sold, and in order to be effective, you have to believe in your product, because it is not, if you have, hear me on this, if you have any hesitation, if you have any sort of pulling your punches, timidity, if you're like a professional proposal creator that likes to distribute brochures, right, you're sucking wind. You ain't gonna make it. You're not a salesperson, right? That's not to say we do unethical things. That's not to say we're aggressive and pushy, and quite the opposite. A really good salesperson, you never see them coming. They got your check, and you're happy about it, right? That's a good salesperson. Because a good salesperson doesn't walk in your office with salesperson written across their chest. Hey, I'm here to sell you something. That's not, no. That's not, and we're going to talk about all of that. But down in the heart of it, that's what you're there to do. That's what you're there to do. And if they can't give you a check, if they won't give you a check, I don't care. You're getting the hell out of there, and you're going to go sit your 2 sweet cheeks in front of somebody who can write you that check. That's it. All right? So we need to start out on the right premise, which is you are in sales. That means you have to go sell. All right? See, all the entrepreneurs in the room are happy I'm saying this, because the salesperson sitting next to them that they hired, that's what you want. Is that right, CEOs in the room? Can I get a hell yes? Oh, yes. Now, salespeople in the room, since you get paid on commission and you don't get paid, hopefully, until a sale is made, you should be saying hell yes with them. Okay? Hell yes. Thank you. Good Lord. This is going to be a long freaking 2 days. I'm going to tell you right now. Oh, all right. So, a couple other rules. Always be the most professional person in the room. By the way, being professional is not just how you dress and act. It's about showing up on time, which is why you are all going to get back in the room on time. Right? That is called being a professional. It's called keeping your word. It's saying, I say I'm going to the seminar, and I will be in the room on time every time. Not half the time, not a quarter of the time, not when, I got caught out in the hallway, right? Every time. Being professional means keeping your word. If you know you need to make 50 prospecting calls today, that means you make 51, not 49, not 49 and a half, not 40 today and then 60 tomorrow. You make 50 every day, right? You have to be disciplined. I'm not saying anything you guys don't know, right? I'm not saying anything you don't know. All right, be prepared, have a process. You never wing it. You never wing it. Especially if you're only getting on 1 to 2 damn appointments a month. You're going to just show up and whatever comes out your mouth, that's what you're going to do? You got to, I mean, the fewer the opportunities, that's all the more you need to be prepared, scripted, planned, have a process, right? And there aren't 10 or 20, even 2 best ways of doing anything. There's one, right? So let's find the one way and do it again, and do it again, and do it again, right? Never trash the competition. If you got to badmouth the competition to win a sale, first of all, you're not selling on your merits, which you should sell on your merits, not on, hey, we're better than doofus over here. And it makes you look bitter, it makes you look jealous and fearful, all right? So make sure if somebody asks you about competitor, we always say, I don't know that much about them. I know of them. I really honestly don't know that much about them. All I can tell you is what we do. Let me explain what it is that we do. That's it. You don't need to get into it, right? Sending an email is not a productive prospecting activity. I tell my salespeople, now, not to say we don't send email, okay? That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you are not going to go out and knock on doors, go to networking events, meet people, call on the phone, just sending email, I can do that. I can get a bot to do that. I can hire an administrative assistant to send out emails, and quite honestly, I can write a better email than you. Right? So I don't need sending emails. We do send them, but don't sit there and just do LinkedIn prospecting and just do email and just post on Facebook and hope customers show up. Like, you gotta pick up the phone and call. When you're at a networking event, you gotta get away from the plant in the corner, because it's not going to write you a check, and you need to get out into the flow of people, and you need to start talking to people. Hey, what do you do? Do you outsource your IT? Are you open to considering another? No? Okay, great. Do you know anybody who might? Okay, great. I'm done with you, because you can't give me you're dead to me, as Mr. Wonderful would say, right? If you're not going to give me a check, you're dead to me, and I'm going to move on till we'll find the next person, right? So you've got to get out and you've got to prospect. Never leave a meeting without a scheduled next action and a date on it with a prospect. Now, there are times prospects won't nail down a date, and if that's the case, what that tells me is that's not a real high probability prospect. So then I might, say, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll round back with you on this day, and if I don't hear back, we'll just consider it a no, and then I'll move on, okay? Which is the next thing. Don't sell to people who have only the authority to say no. There's 2 things in sales that have to be true. They have to have willingness to buy, and they got to have ability. It's hard enough to get them willing to buy. We don't need to handicap ourselves with ability. Does that make sense? Hear me on this. So, we have sometimes we get and it's sticky. You get to like a big corporation, we speak to somebody who's typically the person who writes the checks, and we go to them, we try to sell them a sponsorship. They say to us, we don't have the budget. You know what that tells me? I'm selling to the wrong person. Who's the person with the budget? That's the person I need to get to, because all they have the authority to do is say no. That's why you don't want to sell to underlings. Now, yes, sometimes you have to play nice and navigate, and it's not as cut and dry as that. But I will tell you, most salespeople make the mistake of trying to target too low in the organization, because that's where their comfort level is, right? You want to go to the top and work down. Call the CEO. Even if you know that CEO is not the decision maker, you start there. You start with the CEO, then maybe the CFO, right? Don't sell to people who only have the authority to say no. Another rule, activities drive results, period. Do not whine and complain about the competition, the market, the customers, the leads you're getting. If you're doing enough of the right activities, you will generate results. I tell every one of my salespeople, and they know because they're sitting in the back, wave everybody. All right, yay, hi. Barry, I didn't see your hand. Yes, thank you, Barry. We had this conversation this morning. So, when I say to them, look, everybody's got numbers. You might be able to get an appointment and close a sale with 1 out of every 20 people you call on. Your numbers might be 1 out of 100. You have to make up in numbers what you lack in skill. So if your numbers are you got to call 100 prospects to get a sale, don't bitch and whine, call 100 prospects. Or get better so you can close 2 or 3 for every 100. That way you're more effective, right? But your numbers are your numbers. Activities drive results. In almost every single case where someone is failing to hit quota, in almost every single case, when you look at it, if you get right down to it, it's not that their process isn't great, but it's almost always they're not doing enough activities. It's almost always not enough prospecting, because they grossly underestimate what it takes, how many prospects they have to talk to get a sale, right? It's whatever you think the number is, triple it, all right? That way, even if you think I got to call 60 a day, right? Or really, that's probably for some of you, you'd think that's a lot. You might think, I should call 10 prospects a day. No, you probably need to call 30. That's probably more like what needs to happen, all right? Follow up fast and aggressive on every lead. This is another big one I see. Get something in the mail to them. I want something physical in their office, preferably the next day FedEx to them. If it's a lead that comes in, and every lead is a 5-star lead until they prove otherwise, because you never know. Don't prejudge. Really important. If you want to be successful in sales, you got to work more than 9 to 5. That's a given, right? So I remember Nito Cobain one time. I was sitting in his office at High Point University. If you don't know who Nito is, you ought to know. Just phenomenal. Maybe we can post that up, Debbie, as a resource. The first talk Nito did at boot camp. And, he sat there with me, and we were talking. I was asking him questions about growing the team and how do you get the culture to embrace this high standard of excellence. Because if you go to High Point, the standard of excellence is off the charts, and it's like in the DNA, everybody walking around. I'm like, how do you do that? I just tell me how you do that. And we were talking about that, and as we were sitting there, we're sitting in the president's office, and he had these windows, and he stopped mid-sentence, and I don't even remember what he's saying, but he said, you see that guy there? And I turn around and I look, and there's a guy walking across. He said, without looking at my watch, I can tell you exactly what time it is. It's 4:59. Every day, that guy leaves at 4:59. And he says, and I notice it. He said, now, he's not wrong. It's not a fireable offense because he's supposed to work till 5 o'clock. So technically, He said, but you got to ask yourself, maybe there'd be one day where he had a little extra work where he leaves at maybe 5:10. Where just a little bit late every day on the button. He's walking out of here. And he said, that's how you know the difference between your rock stars and the ones who are okay that you're not gonna accelerate. Because he said the rock stars you don't even have to ask them, they're working extra because it's just the way they are. Right? So 9 to 5 is enough if you just want a job and you want to be okay and be average, but if you want to be more than average, it's more than a 9 to 5 job. Mark Cuban has a really good book. It's something, I think the title is something, How to Win the Game of Business. And it's a real thin book. It's just basically blog posts. And he even says, I'm too lazy because he's so rich. I don't blame him. He's like, I'm too rich to write a book, but everyone keeps bugging me for it. So I put together some of my blog posts. And one of the things he says in there, he said 9 to 5 is when I was out selling. 5 to 9 the next morning was when I was preparing and doing all the other work I needed to get done so that I could spend 9 to 5 selling again to grow his business, right? So maybe you don't have that level of intensity, but a little bit more than 9 to 5. Have something interesting to share. The question you got to ask yourself is, why should someone talk to you? Why should they take your meeting? Is it so you can talk about their IT needs? So we can pitch you something and sell you something? See, that's not interesting. You've got to have something. You've got to become an expert at something to the point where someone wants to meet with you because you will share with them something they don't know that's a benefit to them. Right? You've got to figure that piece out. And what that is depends on who your customer is and what you're selling. So there's a lot of, even though we're all kind of selling managed services, you really aren't. I have clients that specialize in selling to medical practices, and they are experts at how a medical practice runs and operates and is efficient and gets paid. how they, how they are HIPAA compliant, but how do they see patients? How do they manage patient records? See, you got to be an expert on something other than we make computers work, because that's only going to get you in the door so much, right? You got to be an expert on something else. The other is a big one: invite the no. This is counterintuitive when what you're going to hear from most sales people, sales trainers. But here's what I will tell you: I tell my appointment setters, I tell my salespeople, invite the no. Chuck, sounds like you're just not that interested in this. Well, no, it just sounds like this isn't a right fit for you. Now, Chuck might say, yeah, you're right, and thanks for letting me off the hook. Because a lot of people don't want to tell you no to your face. You know what? Here's how everybody gets rid of salespeople, and salespeople are stupid ones, are happy about it. Go put me together a proposal. Because now I just gave you an activity you like to do, and you feel like you're being productive, but I know I just got to ignore you, right? But I don't, when someone says I want you to write a proposal, okay, great, what do you want it to say? Let's write it together right now while I'm talking to you. And if they don't want to do that, it's a no, right? You got to invite the no. Appointment setters are calling. Somebody's like, I don't know, I'm not that, call me back in 3 months. Okay, I'm just going to mark you down as not interested. Invite the no. It's okay to get a no. I'd rather have a no than a maybe. When I see a salesperson who's got 90 callbacks, you don't have 90 prospects. Come on, 90? Seriously, you got a bunch of no's. You don't know how to find the no. Invite the no. Whining and complaining never solved the problem, closed the deal, or accomplished anything productive. Grow up. Nobody is impressed by your excuses.